Okay, we are here today on Tuesday, September 15th for a special city council meeting. The time is 6:01. So we have a quorum present, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Our first order of business is we have citizens' appearance, and we have one individual who is going to speak. He has 2 minutes, and so would you let our citizen in? He's going to Zoom with us.
Okay, as of right now, Mr. Bernstein is not online, so he has been sent the Zoom invite, but he just has not activated it. And I confirmed that he has it.
Never had that before.
Yes, ma'am.
When someone, you're at citizen's appearance and he says he's going to be here and now he's not here, do we just?
I will let you know as soon as he does come online if he does access the link about that.
I'm sure his conversation has to do with what we are about to discuss. So,
And I'll send another email as well.
no one else. Okay. What we have on our agenda tonight are 3 items, and we are going to read all 3 items into the record at the beginning of the meeting, and then we will have Miss Kimberly Tehan here to walk us through a couple of items, and then when we go to actually vote on the motions, we will want to vote on them separately. Is everybody okay with that? Okay? Has he logged in yet? Okay. So, item 3, consider approval of an ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the city of Coppell, Texas for fiscal year of October 1, 2020 through September 30, 2021, and authorizing the mayor to sign. Item 4, consider approval of an ordinance of the city of Coppell, Texas, levying the ad valorem taxes for the year 2020 at $0.500 on each $100 assessment value taxable property, on which 0.481178 is for operating and maintenance, and 0.098822 is for interest and sinking, and authorizing the mayor to sign. And item 5 is consider ratification of the vote on FY 2020 fiscal year, 2021 annual budget, which results in more revenue than ad valorem taxes in the previous year. So,
Mayor, I apologize. Mr. Bernstein is on now.
Hold that thought. We'll go to citizens' appearance and invite him in.
Good evening, Mayor.
Hello. Please state your name and address for the record. And then you are the only one that is here to speak, so we have the timer will be set at 2 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor. My name is Davin Bernstein. I live at 228 Hollywood Drive in Coppell. And I thank you for making arrangements. I logged in right at 6, but I don't know what, I guess it didn't say. But anyways, I want to to thank you for encouraging dialogue with citizens, the efforts of the city to have a full page ad in the local newspaper to get their attention and provide a timeline, I think is very useful for citizens to be able to see how the tax rate is being adjusted and the different rates that were considered. I would like to point out, though, that although there is a new no revenue tax rate of 0.638729 that's highlighted up near the top, there's another number that's buried down near the bottom that is that indicates that it is a 2.99% increase on the average homestead. So it seems like what we're doing is we are kind of having a rate that sounds like it's lowering, but it is still going to increase the taxes collected from each homestead by about 3%. I also wanted to mention that the city went through an exhaustive process to benchmark water fees and felt that it was warranted to adjust rates upward in order to be in line with other cities' rates. Feedback that I've heard is that there was no corresponding decrease tied to that increase. And so it leaves a bad taste in the mouths of citizens when they see these rates that are increasing, but not matched to a decrease in another part of the budget. Most importantly, though, I think that the city has demonstrated the value of benchmarking. I've seen city staff do this several times, and in this case, right, it was used in order to raise rates on citizens for services. However, in the case of the homestead exemption, the city has maintained a 5% exemption, even though there are half a dozen cities immediately around us that have a homestead exemption of 20%. And so
Mr.
I do feel like
Mr. Bernstein, can you wrap it up, please? Your 2 minutes is up.
Yes, 2 sentences. So my view is that the city is prioritizing businesses over the families of Coppell without increasing this exemption compared to other cities. And that as we deal with the other issue of sales tax collections, it seems that lobbyists have been paid but have not prevented apparent changes from happening. And so I hope a new strategy is implemented and that somebody will be held accountable for the unsuccessful strategy to date. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. We have read items 3, 4, and 5 into the record, and I will turn it over to Ms. Kimberly. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I appreciate it. As the Mayor previously stated, the 3 items before you this evening can be discussed simultaneously, but the items must be voted on separately and in a specific order. First, consideration of approval of an ordinance adopting the 2020-2021 budget. After the vote on the budget, you will consider approval of an ordinance to levy the 2020-2021 ad valorem tax rate. And then the last action item is ratification of the vote on the budget because it raises more property tax revenue than in the current year. There are also a few things I need to say for legal purposes for each agenda item. And so I'll begin with the first item that you're considering for approval, which is adoption of the fiscal year 2020-2021 annual budget for the city of Coppell. The public hearing for this budget was held on September 8th of 2020. In addition to the public hearing during the summer months, city staff did hold 4 budget workshops with city council that were open to the public. The total general fund expenditures are estimated to be $64.1 million. When considering all funds included in the fiscal year 2020-2021 annual budget, total expenditures are approximately $115.6 million. In addition to the general fund, this budget includes the special revenue funds, the internal service funds, the water and sewer fund, and the debt service funds. The second item being presented for your approval is the adoption of the fiscal year 2020-2021 ad valorem tax rate. This agenda item references the published rate of $0.58 per $100 of assessed valuation. The property tax rate is divided into 2 parts, which are maintenance and operations and interest and sinking. The property tax code's truth in taxation legal requirements for setting the property tax rate have been satisfied, and approval of this ordinance is required to fund the cities of Coppell's fiscal year 2020-2021 annual budget. The last item is required by section 102.007C of the Texas Local Government Code. When a budget raises more revenue from property taxes than in the previous year, a separate vote by the governing body is required to ratify the increase. This separate agenda item is based on the fact that the fiscal year 2020-2021 annual operating budget will raise more revenue from property taxes than last year's budget. The Finance Department does recommend approval for all three of these agenda items, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Tehan? Hearing none. Are there any comments or turning it over to the council? Any comments or thoughts? Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, this budget, this 2021 budget represents a 13% decrease over our current year budget. And that is in spite of the sales tax loss that was expected as a result of Rule 3.334, and quite honestly, the very unexpected impacts of COVID-19, some of those which we're still feeling. Fortunately, due to our very conservative fiscal approach that we have adopted over time and our careful planning, we and the city staff have been able to account for 99% of the $9.2 million in loss due to COVID-19 alone. This budget will allow the citizens of Coppell to continue to enjoy the very high level of service for public safety, including our police, fire, and our EMS. It will also allow us to continue our maintenance of our public works for our streets, our trails, and our infrastructure. Now, this wasn't done just by happenstance. These extraordinary results were accomplished by expenditure reductions, postponing of capital purchases, postponing our capital projects, the freezing of city staff positions, the reduction in our seasonal staff, and no salary increases for city staff for this year. Our city employees, directors, and our city manager's office have done an excellent job of getting us through these very trying times, and we owe them a huge thank you. This has been an unprecedented sequence of events that no one could have predicted, but this certainly shows that Coppell is truly a special place, one that I'm very proud to live in and to represent. And to everyone involved, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Yingling.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Mays, I could not have said it better myself, and I want to thank the staff for all the hard work. We've had a lot of unexpected stuff come up this year, so I don't want to repeat everything that Councilmember Mays said, but I think he did an excellent job in saying my thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Councilmember Roden.
Thank you, Mayor. I would also support the comments of Councilmember Mays and add my thanks to our staff who have done just an amazing job with almost $10 million of reductions in sales tax revenue of still being able to present a budget that reduces tax rate. Also would just comment on the concept of raising fees. I think for years the city of Coppell was able to not raise fees because of the fact that the city was growing so quickly. The reality is our costs do go up. The cost of water, particularly in the last few years, has gone up, and we can no longer, I think, burden the general fund with those additional costs, and that it really makes sense to have slight increases each year to match the cost of those fees, as opposed to waiting several years and then hitting our citizens with one large increase. So again, I commend the staff for recognizing those cost increases and not allowing it to ratchet up like we sometimes have in the past. So congratulations to the staff on a very, very good job.
Thank you. Councilmember Hinojosa Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. And I also will echo Councilmember May's comments. Very well said. And to say thank you to the staff. Y'all have done a phenomenal job, especially in some very uncertain and trying times. And one of the things that I really have appreciated about our staff and our city is that we are fiscally responsible and always looking for ways to do things better and always thinking about our citizens and their best interests. And so I truly appreciate that and just wanted to also say thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. I also would like to echo the sentiments expressed here. I would like to thank the city manager, Mr. Land, and his staff for doing a wonderful job during these trying times. They have done a wonderful job keeping the budget in line. But I do have a question to ask at this time. Is that possible? Okay. One of the ways that we reduced the expenditure was freezing 29 positions and some part-time positions. How is the city's operation with that freeze in place?
Well, really, that's a question for your constituents. I think we're doing well. The feedback that we get from the citizens across the board as well. Do we have hiccups every once in a while? Sure. One of the things that makes it a little bit difficult is the fact that COVID, and then we not only did we reduce the positions, but then we got into the rotation, right? So I'll give you an example. Parks. Brad and I had a conversation about it today. So you had some rotation of the work in the field that was going on, and so you just didn't have enough folks out there necessarily. So they're doing a stellar job, but the response that we've gotten from our citizens has been a tremendous amount of grace, a tremendous amount of support, and you get to see when we do get comments, we respond in a very affirmative way and address those particular issues. So across the board, the response has been positive from what we hear. And, you know, as far as from council, I haven't heard y'all come to me and talk about particular, you know, maybe one or two things, but across the board, I've heard nothing but positive things. So I would say our staff has absorbed the frozen positions, taken on the additional responsibilities, and responded in a stellar way.
Okay, thank you. So I have a follow-up question. With that in place, do you think we need to fill those 29 positions?
As of today, no. You know, we will look again probably after the first of the year to see where we are. There may be some positions. You know, one of the things that's happened too is we've reorged to match our skills with our needs. So we've had some folks move from one place to another. But we'll take a look at it. We're constantly looking at it. And I think I mentioned to y'all early on that as a position becomes open, and I'll give you an example. We will be filling code compliance because we're basically down to one code compliance in essence person, and we're down two. And code compliance is an area where people call in and make complaints and do those kind of things. We are going forward with filling those. Those were not part of the 29 positions. So we're constantly looking at it every time their position comes open.
If you don't mind, I have one more thing to say. You asked about constituents. Some of them call me and express their concern about not continuing that trail from West Haven, East Lake,
Sure.
connecting to Magnolia Park.
Right.
The HOA board president and others expressed their
Right.
concerns. I know I saw the email from John Elias to Nicole today.
Right.
So I'm glad to see that it's progressing, and we will
Right.
be revisiting that issue soon. Thank you.
And to everyone, several council members have asked about that. You know, we did that presentation a while back, and then COVID hit. And so the first decision that's going to be made by council when we bring it back is that north or south option. Once we have that decision, then we can move forward with the actual design and moving forward.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilmember Long.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate what the council said this evening. I'm eternally grateful to the staff, really, for this effort. This time last year, or in the last 6 months, I was afraid that we couldn't get from here to where we are today, or from there to where we are today. And so I really appreciate that. And we did it as a result of what the staff did. And I appreciate the council for for their input and their agreements to some of the things that came up, and hopefully we can move on. For example, the trail situation, the city manager and I talked about that before the email came out from the citizen as well as the response. But that was part of the capital improvements that we had to cut back, and there were others. And so it's unfortunate, but when you don't have the funds, that's more or less what happens. And so we've done what we can do, and that's just one of the examples. And I think with what we had and the efforts of the staff and the consent of the council, we have done an excellent job of taking the revenue that we have and applying it in a proper fashion.
Thank you very much. Obviously, I would like to add my thanks as well. There don't seem to be enough words to say thank you. So let's move forward with looking at each one of these individually. So let's, item number 3, consider approval of an ordinance approving and adopting the budget of the City of Coppell, Texas for the fiscal year October 1, 2020 through September 30, 2021, and authorizing the mayor to sign. Do I have a motion?
Yeah.
Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the agenda item. Do I need to repeat again, or you just read it?
You can say agenda item 3.
Agenda item number 3.
I should have made you repeat
I
it.
know, right?
Second by Councilmember Mays. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill in favor. None opposed. The motion carries.
Thank you. Item 4, consider approval of an ordinance of the City of Coppell, Texas, levying the ad valorem taxes for the year 2020 at 0.5800 on each $100 assessed value of taxable property, on which 0.481178 is for operations and maintenance and 0.098822 is for interest and sinking, and authorizing the mayor to sign. Do I have it? Councilmember Hinojosa Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve item 4.
Second by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Mayor, there needs to be an actual, the motion needs to be read.
I just read it.
Okay.
Did I not?
No, you did. I moved to adopt a tax rate of 0.58. So sorry, it's just
It's a legal thing.
so sorry.
Have a read. Can you read the item in yellow, please? So amend your motion.
Okay. Okay, so I am amending my motion. I move to adopt a tax rate of 58 cents per $100 evaluation and authorizing the mayor to sign.
And
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill, do you accept that? Yes. Thank you. Second? That's okay. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill in favor. None opposed. The motion carries.
Thank you. And the final item, consider ratification of the vote of the FY 2021 annual budget, which results in more revenue from ad valorem taxes than the previous year. Councilmember Long.
Say something first, Mayor, about this particular item. As we all know, there are two elements to this in what our citizens end up having to pay. One is the tax rate, which we have control over and determine. The other is the efforts by the appraisal district to come up with values for the properties. We don't control that. We don't have any, opportunity to control that. So consequently, if in this particular case they have to pay a little more in the way of taxes, we understand that. And I personally am satisfied with that, because one of our efforts is to make sure that this is the best city in this part of the country, if not the world. And so as a result of that, we have no control over the appraisal. Or indirectly, we can help with it, but we have no control over it. So with those comments, I would like to approve item 5.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second by Councilmember Yingling. Councilmember Mays, do you have an additional comment?
Yes, Mayor, but I was on mute. Sorry about that. As Councilmember Long said, this is a tremendous achievement. When SB2 hit 2 years ago, I was concerned. We had seen that coming for a while, but we knew it was on the table. Then Rule 3.334 definitely impacted us. And quite honestly, at the beginning of the year, I was concerned that we were going to have a very negative year. And then 2 months later, COVID-19 hit. And at that point, I had no confidence that we were going to be able to stand here and present a budget such as we're presenting tonight. This is an excellent budget that we're able to approve with a tax rate reduction. It's just extraordinary in spite of the unforeseen economic downturn. And it's just a tremendous achievement for our city staff. And kudos to all those that made it possible. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Long, Hinosa, Smith, Mays, Roden, Yingling, Matthew, Hill. In favor, none opposed. The motion carries.
Okay, our work here is done. There are no other items on our agenda. So the time is 6:29 and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor.